First is I'll open the meeting with an announcement. I'm Pete Kelly, Chair of the DRB. Welcome to the applicants and public participants. Please sign in by renaming yourself on the participant toolbar or commenting in the chat. This is a hybrid meeting taking place in the town hall, or actually virtually. All members of the board and public can communicate in real time. Planning staff will provide Zoom instructions for public participation before the hearings are opened. All votes taken in this meeting that are not unanimous will be done by roll call vote in accordance with the law. We actually do all votes by roll call. If Zoom crashes, the meeting will be continued to April 12th of 2022. Let's start a meeting by taking a roll call of attendance of all DRB members. Paul Christensen.
Present.
John Hemmelgarn.
Here.
Nate Andrews.
Here.
Scott Riley is not attending. David Saladino is not attending. Dave Turner.
Here.
And the chair is present. 5 are present. We do have a quorum. Okay, next up, Simon, walk us through Zoom instructions, please.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting. Please, could everyone take the time to name themselves properly? You can do this by clicking on the participants button in the bottom of the toolbar. That brings up the participants panel on the right-hand side of your Zoom menu. You can then click rename. If you hover over it, that should allow you to type in your name. Alternatively, you can just type your name in the chat, send it to me, and I can rename you. Zoom has another number of functions you can use. These are all located in the toolbar along the base of the screen. On the left-hand side here, you have the mute button for turning your mic on and off. Please keep it muted when you're not speaking to avoid any feedback. We also have the stop and start video button to turn your video on and off. Video is optional. We have the chat function. Please use that if you need some technical help. Send me a message and I'll see what I can do to assist. Or if during public testimony you'd like to ask to speak. A second way of asking to speak is to click the reactions button and then clicking the raise hands. And if you are on your telephone, you can use *9 to raise your hand and *6 to mute or unmute. We will be using screen share this evening, and that's so that everyone can look at the same documents. We do recommend you use side-by-side mode, which allows you to see both the document we're looking at and a video of who's speaking. Zoom should automatically default to side-by-side mode automatically, but if it doesn't, you can change to it by clicking view options at the top of your screen, next to the sort of green oblong, scrolling down to side-by-side mode and then clicking on it. This also allows you to click and drag the slider, which is shown there. There's 2 vertical lines within the red circle to adjust the size of the camera and the shared screen. And then lastly, if you do have a bad internet connection, you can try a number of things. You can try turning off your video. You can try closing other browser tabs, other computer programs you might be running, or any other phone apps. And lastly, if you are really experiencing problems, you can try using your telephone for a speaker microphone. You do this by clicking the up arrow next to unmute or mute, click leave computer audio, and then dial back into the meeting using the meeting ID. If you do have any questions or technical requests, please do send me a message. I'll see if I can help you.
Okay, thank you, Simon. Okay, next up on the agenda is the public forum. This is an opportunity for anyone participating in tonight's meeting who would like to address the board on any topic that is not on tonight's agenda. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand and Simon will acknowledge you.
I'm not seeing any raised hands, and I didn't get any chat requests to speak.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, now we're going to segue into the public hearing portion. We have one applicant tonight. It's DP 22-06 Green State Realty LLC, a pre-app for a redevelopment of 4626 Williston Road. Who is present representing the applicant?
Well, if you want to unmute yourself and state your name and address.
So my name is Carl Marchesson from O'Leary Burke. This is my client, Anastasia, and yeah, we're here.
Okay, address for the record, please, for both of you.
Address, Carl Marshall, O'Leary Burke. We're office at 13 Corporate Drive, Essex Junction, Vermont, 05452. Anastasia, the property 4626 Williston Road, Williston 05495.
Okay, great. Thank you. And welcome.
Thank you, Pete.
Staff goes next.
Okay, so I have written a staff report for this project review, and I will not be reading the entirety of it. I will focus on sections that are not standard or have some unique element. But I would like the entire staff report to be entered into the record. This is a request for a pre-application review to construct a new building, storage lot, parking, and related appurtenances at 4626 Williston Road. Some grading and earth removal is required for this project. The site's currently developed with a single-story multi-tenant building and unpaved storage lot. There was a recent boundary line adjustment that was approved administratively that merged the two parcels shown here. You can see how that line is crossed out and pushed this southern boundary line back a little ways into the Robert lot. So staff's recommending that the DRB approve the proposed project to proceed to discretionary permit with recommendations as drafted. Neither the Conservation Commission nor the HAC reviewed this. Public Works and Fire reviewed this project and submitted comments, which were included in your packet. No public comment letters were received. As far as dimensional standards, per WDB 36.3.4, no parking or buildings or structures are allowed within the 35-yard front yard setback. There is on the site plan 3 parking spaces that are within the setback and must be removed from the site plan at discretionary permit. There is some landscaping in the front yard setback and a stormwater swale, both of which are allowed. Outdoor sales and storage are shown on the site plan. Outdoor, in this case, outdoor sales and storage are the same area. I'll just show the site plan. The proposed use is a auto dealership, and a storage lot is proposed right here to the side of the building. Because this lot has an unusual shape, normally where outdoor storage is not allowed in the front yard. In this case, staff is recommending that because it's beside the building, it be considered as a side yard, as the side yard where the storage is proposed, and that it be allowed. And then there's a lot of existing nonconformities on this lot, mainly the drive aisle within the front yard setback. This project will actually reduce the existing nonconformities on the site by providing more controlled access and removing the storage that's currently in the setbacks. The access is from Williston Road, a state highway, and the applicant is coordinating with the Agency of Transportation on that access. A letter of intent from AOT will be required at discretionary permit. And the site plan must include parking, vehicular parking, and bicycle parking, and an end of trip facility for the site. The DRB should discuss the proposed use with the applicant and make a recommendation about the parking generation rate. And let's see. For landscaping, so the subject parcel is bordered by an industrial use on the west, and road frontage to the north, and then to the south and east is this big wooded lot. There's not really a whole lot of room here for street trees or landscaping in the front. The applicant is proposing some landscaping shrubs in the front along Route 2. And there really isn't there isn't a whole lot of room on the side here for landscaping between this lot and the adjacent industrial lot. Staff is recommending that the DRB just maybe require a fence there to delineate the two lots, and not require any landscape plantings there. And so there will be a lot of grading and earth moving on this property to the slope here behind the development, just to provide a little more room on the lot. And so because of that, it is considered high risk because there are steep slopes. Because of that, there will be a requirement for a erosion prevention and sediment control plan to be submitted at discretionary permit. And also there is a wetland buffer that comes very close to the top of that slope at the rear of the parcel. So the applicant should clearly demarcate that wetland buffer on the erosion prevention and sediment control plan and on the site prior to grading or earth movement, so as to prevent any encroachment into the buffer. And that's about all I have to say. I've listed some drafted recommendations for you to consider. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Melinda. So the applicant, what do you have to add to that before I open it up for questions from the DRB?
Thank you, Melinda, for doing a great job. I think you would have done a better job than I would have done, but you got the right to report, so we're very appreciative of that. I don't have much to add. One of the things that we're going to debating on sharing with staff was what a storage lot looks like. And I don't know if, to be honest, I don't know how to share my screen, but I've done a few, and I didn't even know what a storage lot was until like 2018. But I feel like if you could set eyes on my other screen, and maybe you could help me do that, I'd like to show you what a pattern of a storage lot looks like for the way they want to use the parking lot. I think that would be, we're reading the staff report. I feel like that's one of the items that the board should see, if that's okay. So I just hit share screen, and then I can just move it over. Is that what I do? Okay.
Carl, I've made you a co-host.
Yeah, I think so.
So if I hit screen one, are you going to see this?
Try to click share.
Okay. So do you see that screen, or?
We do.
So that's a storage lot in on Pine Street in Burlington. So it was just an empty lot that wasn't being used, and you can see that they paid no attention to the striping. The reason the pattern, my understanding is predominantly it's 3, but sometimes it's 4, and it depends on how often the vehicles get moved. But this is the kind of pattern that a storage lot is in terms of trying to preserve space and utilize the most space that we have, because honestly, we know that we're tight. And so I just wanted you guys to set eyes on this. So if you Google Pine Street, Burlington, you can zoom into this area. But anyways, I wanted you all to see that so that you can understand the size constraints of the lot that we're based against and how we plan on maximizing, the storage lot. So I didn't want to show traditional spacing because I don't think it's really pertinent, because this is the kind of bumper to bumper thing that we envision for our storage lot, and then a display area closer to the front where the drive aisle is going to be. So that's how we would envision it, which is why there's not a need for traditional 9x18 spaces. So these cars are just being moved around by the applicant, which would be, the people that work on cars, that sell cars, so that, you don't get door dings and stuff. But obviously you can see that it's a very tight pattern here. So anyways, okay. So I just stopped share on that. Everybody, I can send that in too. We made a PDF of it, and I can send it to Simon if you guys want to incorporate that into the record. So that's the first thing I wanted to share with you all. The other item that I wanted to discuss was the front buffer, the 35 feet. We're totally fine with taking out the 3 parking spaces. We'll definitely do that. We want to put a little low-lying shrubs and create a stormwater feature. We think we're about 0.8, so we're nowhere near the full acre to trigger a state stormwater permit. But we're going to drain everything towards the front. We're going to create a depression, and we're going to try to maximize our infiltration for stormwater and do some landscaping to sort of soften, the main road to our parking area. And I think that's what staff sort of directed us to do when we met with them, and that's what the staff report sort of indicates. So that's what we want to do. And then the grading, if you would pull up sheet 2, I think we should definitely look at grading. Sheet 2 is an existing conditions plan. Melinda, I don't know if you could bring that up, or should I share my screen? Or okay, so that's the first sheet, and I think that's sheet 1 or sheet 2. If you could scroll to the other sheet. So these kind of overlay each other, but you can see the feature in the front that's very steep, and then in the back is actually grading to a flattened area, and then we are fighting that grade. So this is kind of erosion control question answered, and also the steepness factor answered. First of all, we're not disturbing much area, but the area that we are disturbing, we are going to lessen the slope to lesser of a slope than what's there now. So this is much steeper there now than what we're going to create when we regrade it. The second thing I think is very important to emphasize is we are grading down into our parking lot. So in other words, there won't be any grading, and we won't be altering the pattern of grading towards the wetland. So as Melinda said in her report, we will definitely stake that out, that 50-foot buffer. But the TOA slope, and we got correspondence from Tina Heath, the state wetlands person that we corresponded with, and I think we provided that for the file. I don't know if you have it in your file, but the staff has it. And our intention is to not disturb anything in the buffer. So we are working down at 3-on-1 away from that slope. So in other words, we can't even catch up to that grade and not disturb the buffer. So all our stormwater is going to be draining in a northerly fashion towards Williston Road. And that's why we want to put that feature in the front to control our stormwater, and then put some low-lying bushes to make it look nice and provide, an aesthetic feature that is pretty much predominantly gravel when you drive by there now. So those are the 2 things that I wanted to talk about. I think we wanted to talk about, end of trip facilities. I wanted to mention that. We're agreeable to work on that. I think talking to Anastasia in the new building, I think they do want to put in showers. I'm not sure how that corresponds with, public versus like utilizing from the employees, but I'm hoping to get a little bit clarification on that. And yeah, I think Melinda did a great job. I think that's really all the things that we wanted to show. Because at first glance, it is a lot of grading. It appears like a lot of grading, but I think when you drive by there, you're looking at a much steeper slope right now than you're going to be looking at when we're all done. And it's going to be pushing it back. So it's going to kind of soften that steep slope appearance that's there now. Basically, we'd like to take more of it out if there wasn't a buffer, but that's a little bit more of a permitting conflict, which is why we're opting to just take up to the buffer, so we won't have to do any wetland permitting and stuff like that.
Carl, this is John Hemmelgarn.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're saying here, but I think it would be helpful. Can Miles or Simon, can you pull that back up on the screen? Even for those of us who are familiar with reading plans,
yes,
this is confusing.
Okay.
So if you could put that back up and just give us a plain English description of where this is going up, where it's going down, where the line of the wetlands buffer is, which areas you're cutting, where you're taking out fill, where you're adding fill. Just give us a plain English description of what you're doing on this site.
So is there any way I can move my cursor on the screen? Do you guys see my cursor on the screen or no?
If that's you moving it, yes.
I got to share my screen or?
There's a cursor on the screen right there.
Yeah,
now.
I think that
Oh,
was,
I'm sorry.
I think that was Melinda.
Oh,
Yeah, you
So,
can screen open the.
Why
I think
don't,
Melinda's gonna have to.
I can do that. I can bring up a
Simon-
plan and share my screen, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you
because,
share-
because the plans we have are so small that I cannot read the contour designations on there. Maybe I'm just too old.
No, that's fair enough. You know what? There's so many contours. I couldn't label them so that it would make sense. So I will explain that.
Well, I can figure out where one's smaller than the next, which way is going downhill, but I can't read the numbers.
Yeah, no, I get it. The regrading is actually occurring. Well, okay.
Carl, are
Bring up
you,
sheet 2 and then we'll go over that right now. Let me see.
you're okay sharing your screen then, Carl, so you can point it out?
I do apologize. I'm not very good. I wanted to bring in hard copy plans and come and see you guys in person. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm gonna get it right now. All right, hang on. 2020. All right, so I'm gonna hit, let's see, where are we here? Okay, there we are. Share screen, and then you hit, oh yeah, this isn't too bad. All right, I got it. All right, so let me zoom in here. These are the existing grade contours, and right here is 300, and this is 310. Now we're cutting into the bank at this location along this side, and then we're basically creating a new high point like right here, and this is all the way down. So in other words, like we are fighting the existing slope back down and not changing this 50-foot buffer line. So we're basically going to stake out this orange line, and then we're going to do all the regrading heading back down towards the site. So this is a 315, 311. So this is 16, 17, 18, 19, 21. So we're basically going to start at elevation 321 and grade back down to 311. So we're going to cut the
And
slope about 10
what's
feet
the
down.
high elevation on the site right now? I mean, is that a knoll that you're just taking the top off of?
Yeah, basically we're cutting the top off of it. Yeah.
There's the English I'm looking for.
So I'm going to ask you that. I'm going to answer that question for you. The site is about 335.
So you're going to take 20 feet off that hill
Pretty much.
and essentially get rid of the steep slope that you see that goes down into
Yeah,
the
so
parking
all this
area
stuff
now.
is gonna go in the very steep part in the front. And this is about like 1.5 or so on one, like right here. And we're gonna change it to 3 on 1, but we're basically fighting up against, you know, basically this slope right here. So this is going down, but we're gonna start at the orange line and grade it back down, because obviously this would be way too high. Our site wants to be like 311, like this contour shown here. So that's our target grade is 311, right in that vicinity at the back of the building. So does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, is that a like a former fill site or something where they pushed a bunch of dirt from a previous construction project or what? Or is that a native feature?
I actually don't know the answer to that. Do
I
you?
don't know, but they had a permit to take sand out of this, so the previous owner was taking sand and just selling it, so I don't know what's that.
The previous owner, Anastasia, indicates that they were taking out fill material, and they've already, ECI actually expressed that they want to help her remove it, so it must be somewhat of a good fill sand value, because they have worked a deal out to try to do that removal, to assist them to get the site to where we can do something with it.
Okay.
Does that satisfy your question, John?
Well, yeah, it wasn't, yeah, I'm just looking to understand the project before I start asking questions, but.
Okay.
I guess the only thing, John, that I want to emphasize is that there's, as soon as you look at it, you're like, well, they're coming off the back. So one would think like we're grading into the wetland, but that's not the case.
I understand.
So I guess that's the only clarification for other board members, even though like I'm sure that you understand it. You know, the way I explained it, I just want to make sure everybody else understands it as well. So if anybody else has any other questions, I'll be happy to try to elaborate on that.
Okay, DRB members, questions?
Should I just keep going, Pete?
How do I get the screen back?
So the building that's going there, or what's being stored on the site? Is it vehicles like you showed before? And whose vehicles are they that are being stored there?
Is it brand new vehicles that you're going to store? Yeah. Used vehicles?
Used, yeah.
So it's going to be used vehicles that are going to be stored on the site.
Are they for sale?
Yes.
For sale, yes.
Will you be selling them from this site, or are they being stored for other people who are selling them?
You guys are the ones selling them.
We will sell them.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the Green State is the one selling them, correct, yeah.
And the building that's going on the site, what is the purpose of that building?
That building is going to be for just general maintenance and for, you know, a little bit of staffing.
So it's a repair garage or a service garage, or is it a sales office?
Yeah, they're gonna have lifts, and they're going to be some service.
Well, only for our cars.
Only for the cars that they're working on, not for, you know, it's not going to be open for business for everybody, just for their cars.
Will you be, so is the general public going in and out of that building?
No.
No,
So if people are selling or buying the cars there, where are the people that are selling them working out of?
No, the people will go in the building like to do the sale. Like,
yeah,
you go to
the
the
people
dealership.
that arrive that are going to buy a vehicle, you know, the idea is they're going to come into the dealership and look at vehicles and, you know, hopefully buy, you know, the vehicle from them, but
So is this a
they're only
car
going to service
dealership?
the vehicles that, you know, they're bringing in on their lot. Like, it's not going to be like a garage, like open for business for anybody to come.
So is this a car dealership?
Yes.
I see. Does it? Was that stated in the report here? I mean, it sounded like it was just a storage facility.
Well, the car lot is, it's a storage lot with a building to store their vehicles on for, you know, for, I don't know,
car dealership.
for a car dealership, yeah.
It sounds like a car dealership.
Yes.
Don, if you look in the use section, I didn't state that explicitly, but in the use section of the staff report, it says auto dealership.
Okay.
I mean, it's going to be basically very similar to the use that's next door, like Earthy Cars, except as you can see from the ortho photo that you're looking at right now, I mean, we're not allowed to park vehicles like right on the street there. So That's why we're gonna regrade the parking lot so that we can stay 35 feet away and provide the features that we show on the plan. So, I mean, it's a great location as far as visibility and whatnot. And we know that we're tight, so we're gonna try to limit trips in and out. But with the room that we have, we wanna put a small building in, and these folks wanna work on some vehicles for themselves and yeah, treat it as a dealership. The only reason I didn't show parking spaces and I say it's a car lot is because of the example I showed you. Like, we don't want to be held to like strict parking standards with traditional spacing, because otherwise we won't be able to fit the cars on there like we want to.
Right. Well, I can see that the image you have up there now is not being favorable to your neighbor, who's clearly parking in the road right away.
No, it's not super favorable for sure, but you know, they're not on the chopping block here, and I didn't do that specifically to bash them. I mean, it is what it is. It's like, we're in for, you know, redevelopment. So, you know, as such, we try to play by the rules as best as we can. So I think it was very clear. Staff did a great job explaining to us that we need to preserve the 35 feet. I think there was a little bit of pushback, but talking to my clients, I suggested that we put a stormwater feature there, even though we don't need a formal state stormwater permit, and try to do something so when people are driving by that new road configuration that's on the right of that plan, you know, they're going to have something a little bit more appealing than just gravel.
So the plan, if you come in for a DP, that'll show the new road configuration, I assume, and set.
Yeah, I mean, if you am I share screen? Can you just arrow to the right? Or can you just slide over? Can you just pan over? Yeah, keep going to the right, up a little bit above the legend. Yeah, so that's what it's going to look like. So that's the V-Trans configuration of what that's going to look like. And then
right.
we're
I'd like to see it all
on
on one plan and not have to imagine overlaying them in my own head.
No, we can definitely
I don't see
do
how
that.
that can't
Yeah.
happen.
No, we can put that configuration on there. It's just hard with the ortho photo, but yeah, we can overlay that configuration right on the main plan, or we can provide a third sheet perhaps, just because you've seen this one, but that's not a problem. We can do that.
Well, then we're talking about it at DP.
Sure.
So how did you decide where to put the access point here? It seems like a pretty tricky site, given the location of the traffic signals and the traffic patterns, to come up with a safe spot to be pulling in and out of here with the vehicles perhaps that people aren't used to driving. And
that is a great question, John. And I can tell you that we've been feuding with V-Trans on this for a long time, and we've had several site meetings. And it's my opinion that we should have 2 access points to this site, but they disagree. And they say that they don't want to mess with their bus terminal. And the unfortunate part is, my understanding, and talking to Anastasia about this a lot, V-Trans bought rights to this property, and we can't have a second access, is what V-Trans is telling us. And it makes the most sense to have it where it is, because AmeriGas is kind of in the same general area, and they share that access. So my client has decided not to fight V-Trans any further and concede and go with the one access point that is basically the existing location now. So they say they sent us all this correspondence that they own the rights to the easterly side where the bus terminal is, that they bought that from Andrus, I believe is the guy's name, that owned it prior to my clients that I work with. And so for those reasons, we will not be able to have a second access.
now, even the single access, though, frequently we hear desires from DPW or other places to add new driveways or new streets come in opposite existing roads. Is there a reason why you wouldn't put it where there's already a signalized light that would allow people to perhaps enter that intersection safely?
On this property right now, we're combining 2 parcels as part of the property line adjustment. So we don't own any property next door, and I get AmeriGas, from what my client says, they're very, they're pretty decent people to own the access with, but AmeriGas is still going to continue to have an access there. And that's the only logical spot that we can see that we can get in and out of our property. Because we don't own any land, westerly of this location.
Right, I'm just wondering why you wouldn't come in at the intersection with Industrial Ave, where there's a traffic light already.
We talked about that with V-Trans, and we sent them, I think, several different versions of plans, but this is where they are agreeing to, informally, that said that they're going to give us an access because it's an existing access. And there's proximity issues with being right at the intersection, because if the movement goes, basically there's no light to say go on our property. So I believe what's going to happen is our V-Trans permit is going to say you're exiting right and you're coming in from the west.
So you'd have, you can't make a left turn from where you are, is that what you're saying?
Left turn out's going to be pretty tough.
I would agree. The left turn in isn't going to be very much fun either.
Yeah, realistically, what's going to happen is everybody is going to figure it out and just go drive and turn around and come back. I mean, I see it happen on Susie Wilson in Essex. I see it happen over here, by our office in several locations. I think it's just inevitable. I mean, some places you just know that are really tough to get in and out. V-Trans, we've had, I don't want to get nasty about it, but V-Trans, they've been very nice, but
So John, isn't
pretty hard on the access.
So, I was trying to be
sharing access is the best option I feel we have. Sorry to interrupt you there.
So I'm trying to be respectful of letting questions go, but isn't this a state highway?
It is.
Doesn't V-Trans control access? So I don't think it's in the DRB's purview to continue this line of questioning. It's not something we control.
Yeah, I just don't think that this is a very safe way to go out, and it's not improving an existing horrible intersection. So I just don't want to be a contributing factor to that. I just want to make sure that we're doing what we can. I appreciate your comment. So we should, I guess, move on.
Okay, other questions, please.
Hi, this is Nathan Andrews. Just a question on the proposed light landscaping that separates 2A from your lot. Is that continuous across the entire frontage, and is it also raised with a curb? I'm just trying to understand if are people still going to be able to, even though you're not granted access, potentially drive across that, or yes or no?
The reason that we're creating a stormwater feature by the contours that you see on plan 1, or the plan that shows the storage lot, the reason that we're deciding to do the stormwater feature is really twofold. One, it's going to create a 3-foot depression there, so you're really not going to want to drive across it. And then 2, it's going to create a stormwater feature. So we're really trying to direct traffic in the existing proposed 24-foot wide accesses, which is, for all intent and purposes, where the existing access is now. And obviously that green building that you see in the photographs, it's very close to the road. And so right there in the plan that you're staring at, it says existing building to be removed. In this perspective, it just shows how close that building is to the road, but obviously it also offers the DRB a good perspective about all the land that we'll be gaining in the back.
Okay, so that's just riprap type sunken.
It's going to be a 3-foot depression for stormwater to infiltrate. And it's also going to serve as a delineator for to direct people away. So if you drive by, I mean, you're going to see a 3-foot deep depression there. And then we want to landscape each end of it that it's out of the sort of wet area, just to provide something visually you can see, to provide the entryway, where we're going to leave a little bit of area that's raised with some landscaping on each side to sort of kind of demark that area, if you will.
So there's nothing there to protect this lot then from, say, someone coming on industrial at a high speed. This happened in this lot once before in the past, where they blew into the old Tim's snack shack that was there. Is there any protection built in?
Yeah,
that,
this
or
is
no?
the protection is they're gonna hit the 3-foot embankment, and they're gonna protect that's gonna protect our property. I mean, that's the way I look at it.
Sorry,
if you put in
embankment
a
or-
guardrail, it'd be even less of a buffer. But I think creating that depression is gonna basically, if anybody goes,
So
really
sorry,
high
is it an
speed,
embankment or a depression?
the depression.
Okay,
I'm just saying, like, I guess what I'm saying is it's gonna go down and come back up, and so somebody
Got
would kind of nose down in, and it would probably do a lot of damage to their vehicle, but it'd be a lot better than putting up a guardrail. A guardrail is, those are types of things that if somebody is going super fast and crazy, those are the kind of things that.
okay,
usually
yeah, and we're getting into
causes
the AOT
fatalities.
stuff here again, but, and I know you don't necessarily kind of trying to avoid committing to a certain number of parking spaces here, but can you tell us for this storage lot, how many cars you're envisioning having in the storage lot potentially? And then how many normal, and you have, what's the 7 spots? Is it just 7 spots for retail and employees there, plus the storage?
I think the envisioning is those 7 spots in the front are really to park, the vehicles that you want to display. Park
Okay,
the vehicles that, they're gonna be the most displayed, and then the other one will be the storage lot will be really just to put them in a place where, they can be moved around and worked on, or, buffed up and basically prepared for sale. that
okay,
kind of
and the
stuff.
customer parking is over to the west, I guess. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, just one question. Have you considered where your snow storage is going to be?
The snow storage, we're gonna utilize the swale that we're creating. Or
Okay,
basically
so
the
you're gonna-
depression
you're
that
gonna
we're
push the-
creating. So 3 feet deep, we're envisioning that to be, more than ample amount of room. We're creating a tremendous amount in 35 feet, way more than we need. And then there's no reconnection. And we're not asking to be reconnected to anybody's stormwater system. So it's basically going to be an infiltration, and we want to put our snow there because there's really no other spot. And if we don't have enough room, we'd have to haul it out. But looking at the area and our calculations, there's going to be more than ample room for snow there. I mean, we didn't call it out as such, but I think people are reluctant to say this is the snow storage, but snow storage, logically that's where it's going to have to go, because we're fighting an embankment against us. Basically, we're going to be climbing at 3-on-1 in the back, and so we can't push up against the bank, and we're trying to maximize our area, so we really don't want snow to be in the back.
Okay, just a note.
No, that's a great question, and we did think about that, so we wanted to give you the correct answer.
I mean, Paul, from what I'm understanding is that the vast majority of this lot's going to be full of cars, which is going to be hard to plow. So I'm not sure how much snow you're actually plowing.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to move vehicles around and maybe like a snow blower, but I mean, it's their storage lot and they're the ones that want to park cars on it. So I feel like, they're gonna figure that stuff out. I don't think we gotta figure that out for them ahead of time, but yeah, do you guys?
Well, usually we're like, we move a little
Yeah,
bit.
move some vehicles around, plow it, move the vehicles around, plow it as need be, so.
So
You have
what
an
do you,
estimate of-
what do you anticipate that the height of that snow storage would be during a significant snowstorm, like say 2 feet of snow? Because I'm envisioning if somebody were to be driving east on US 2 and there'd just been a significant snowfall and that stormwater retention depression were filled with snow, there would be essentially kind of a bank of snow that you would be driving by on your right if you were heading east. What do you forecast or predict that the height of that snow storage area would be, Carl?
I think we're gonna be about level or maybe like in a really big storm a foot above. So it might fill the 3 feet for a few days. The last major snowstorm we had, it was just out of control. Like my snowblower was broke. I feel this is kind of pertinent. somebody came over and helped and just pushed all the snow because they wanted to do it quick, and I had a snowbank that was like 6 feet tall. But because they pushed it all into one spot. When you're spreading it out and you don't have this much area to work with, based on just looking at the area, it's going to fill 3 feet and maybe like another half a foot or a foot or so in a snow event that size, just by volume. So it might be like, you know, when you pass by, you're still going to see the building and stuff. We're thinking it's going to be like basically 4 feet, so 3 feet and maybe another foot or so. But then it's going to, you know, basically infiltrate, or the next time we get a thaw, which we're getting a lot of thaws, it's going to disappear pretty quick.
Other questions from the DRB?
My question is probably more for Melinda. Do you know if when V-Trans is doing this, are they going to put a sidewalk in that area too?
Yeah, they are. Let's see if you look over there. Their sidewalk looks like it's going to go all the way back to here.
I see. Okay, I see it now.
And then this is where the bus stop is. So it's going to end right there.
So I think Melinda, I don't know if it even matters, but my client was just kind of whispering to me that she thinks it's like some sort of bike path or something, but I mean, sidewalk, bike path, yeah.
Yeah. Multi-use path.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's in there right away. So one of the things that V-Trans emphasized to us is they had a stormwater feature. So if you just scroll up a little bit, and that's why I showed it on this plan. It was really to share this information with V-Trans. If you slide up the other way, there's another inset right there. I pointed out and said swale seat positioning on plan left will not interfere with this project. So they were saying that they had this 8-foot device that was part of their grand scheme. And so we're electing to do our own, you know, southerly of that, but they wanted me to put that on the plan. Well, that's what I agreed to do on the plan so that we could emphasize that we're not going to have an impact on this feature that they're creating for their sidewalk and their road. So that really hinders us even more. But because the town of Williston requires a 35-foot setback, we're losing basically 35 feet of our land in the front anyways. So anyways, we're going to have a lot of stormwater feature on this property. So.
Okay.
Okay, other questions?
This is Dave Turner. Just one quick more. Will the storage area be paved or will it be gravel? I don't remember if I saw that.
They want to pave it. Yeah, they want it to, yeah. Once they're done with all the road improvements, the intention is to come in and you know, gravel and pave it.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the public?
I'm not seeing any raised hands, and I've got no chats requesting to speak.
Okay, last chance for DRB members for questions.
I'm good.
Okay. Carl, any last comments?
Well, Pete, I just want to say thank you. I think you did a great job. I got a little off tangent there about the V-Trans thing. I know it's a big component of this project, and I'd like to relay to the board how much struggles we've had with V-Trans, but they've been great. But it's just, I guess that's all I need to say. I think we've killed it here with V-Trans, but them owning the rights to the easterly side of our property is not something my client knew, and I was not aware of it. And at sale, I just felt like that's really unjust. But you know, that's the way it rolls. I feel like we got no other option and to go with the option that we have. So it seems like that's predominantly the biggest sort of concern here. But V-Trans, like you said, they got the final say. So if we get our permit from V-Trans, I think everybody's hopefully going to have to be okay with it. It's not ideal. I think we all know that, but it's not fair to my clients that own a piece of property in Williston with this high profile and not be able to do anything with it either. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Pete.
Okay. Thank you. We are going to close DP 22-06 at 7:52. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is agenda item number 3, communication, final plans, and other business. There were 2 comment letters that were received regarding the windswept farm property that has not made it to the DRB yet. It's being discussed at some level at the Planning Commission. At this point, the DRB acknowledges receipt of those letters. If and when there is a pre-application for that property, those letters will also go into the official record of that application. But at this point in time, the DRB is not going to take any action other than acknowledgement of receipt. With that being said, we're going to go into APP 22-01, which is the appeal of the certificate of compliance. 22-09 at 1505 Old Stage Road. And Melinda, help me procedurally on this, please.
Sure. So this appeal was heard a few months ago. I don't remember the exact date, but at that time, the DRB asked staff to work with the appellant, the appellee rather, to develop a revised landscaping plan. And you recommended that the appellee bring that plan back to you so that you can provide some feedback as to whether you think that it meets the criteria of the bylaw. So yeah, that's, procedurally, there doesn't need to be like a vote. This is not like an official proceeding, but you're simply providing feedback to the applicant about, not the applicant, the appellee, about his landscaping plan. If you'd like, I can bring it up on the screen.
Sure.
Okay. Let's see, hold on a second.
Before you do that, Keith, I see your face. If you would identify yourself for the record, please, and your address.
Sure. Keith Phelan, 1505 Old Stage Road, Williston.
Thank you. Go ahead, Melinda, and bring the drawing up if you would, please. Okay, great. So Keith, if you could walk the DRB through this plan, and I think I've got a handle on it, but if you could walk the group through what this plan represents, that would be appreciated.
Sure. So when we applied for the original CO, the plan didn't have all of this on here. So on the right, there were only 3 Gs. Those are the silky willows. We ended up planting 10 there. And then also the plan didn't have the 5 spruces to the left of the driveway. And I've added 6 more H's, which are more of the red osier dogwood. And then kind of just to the left of the driveway, there's a little bit of space there to leave adequate visibility when entering and exiting the driveway. And then let's see, farther over on the left, there have been some keep going over to the left. There have been some more invasives identified there, which have been flagged off in green, which I will be removing. And then, the other part to the left of the driveway, I'm proposing that the understory be planted with native grasses and wildflowers, so that can fill in. And then, to be brush hogged once or twice a year, just the low-lying stuff to allow that to spread and keep the buckthorn and invasives from kind of growing back up.
Okay, so you in our packet is a communication that you had with staff in which you made a statement that confused me, and I want to get clarification from you. You said the most recently submitted plan to be reviewed on 3/8/12. I assume that meant 3/8/22.
Yeah.
Includes the following additional plantings from the original approved plan by the zoning administrator. And you've got 6 dogwoods, 5 firs, 7 willows. And then you note that the 7 willows have already been planted. Now, when you look at this plan, however, in the key on the top left, you indicate existing shrubs planted in fall 2021. So those are in conflict. On the plan, you're saying that that series of plants were planted, but in your letter, well, it's actually an email dated March 8th, which was today, you said that only the willows were planted. So could you clarify, please?
Yeah, for sure. So the plan that I had submitted with the final CO that was signed off only had 3 of those silky willows. At the time when I planted them, I did 10 of them instead. So I'm just trying to emphasize that at that point, I felt like it was inadequate. We went over above and beyond what Matt had required me to do, and I had planted all 10. I just wanted to highlight that fact.
Okay.
So Pete, can I make sure I'm understanding that?
Yeah, I didn't follow it either. So please ask,
So
John.
I'm understanding that you had proposed planting 3. You actually planted 10.
Correct.
And so now those are being shown on this plan as existing because they're already planted.
Exactly.
So what I'm not clear on is which of these items on this plan are not yet planted and will be planted in addition to those 10 Gs that are I assume they're all the Gs to the right of the driveway.
Yeah, the Gs are all planted. Those are the silky willows. Those are in. So the 5 spruces.
And I don't see spruce on.
I'm sorry, the balsam fir. Sorry.
Okay. So those are new.
Yep.
Or
And
those
then
proposed, I should say.
Proposed. Yeah. Yep. And now whoever's controlling the mouse kind of go down just a little bit to the right. Those 6 H's, which are red osier dogwood, those are the additional plantings as well.
So the dogwoods are proposed
Along with the firs, yes.
along with the firs.
Yep.
And what about the white pine and the hemlock?
Those have already been planted.
Okay. So Keith, part of the confusion here is you've submitted a plan that says existing shrubs planted in fall 2021.
Yep.
And yet now your testimony is that not all those have been planted. And so this shouldn't take as the amount of clarifying questions that we've had to ask to decide what was in and what was not in.
Okay. Oh, my apologies for not making that more clear. I tried to do the H's so that it was all the same, but yeah, But do you guys understand what the additional proposal is now?
Yes.
Okay.
One thing that's missing on this plan is the size of the plantings that have either been planted or proposed to be planted. Typically on landscaping plans, the size of the to be planted item is shown.
And when you say size, are you referring to mature size?
No,
What is,
size at planting. So if you're going to put in a tree, it's usually measured by caliber. There's been, and where I'm going with this, I'll be very transparent, is some of the letters from some neighbors and some that are not neighbors have alleged that that the trees have been very small, in the neighborhood of an inch in height when planted. And so I'm trying to get some testimony from you to give me a sense of the size of the plantings when they went in the ground.
sure, yeah, and let me explain on that one. So they're referring to the Gs, so the silky willows. The only way to purchase those are by a live stake, which is a cutting from an existing willow shrub. And I purchased them from a Vermont willow tree farm or shrub farm. The way that you do that, the cutting is about 10 inches. You put about 7 inches down into the ground, 3 inches above. They're fast growers. So within 3 years, I was told they should be 5 by 5, 5 foot by 5 foot plants. And the landscape designer insisted on these because this is such a challenging location that you can't just put anything in there. And so we
Challenging as in wet?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was helpful.
It is, but Pete, it doesn't answer the same question you asked, which is for the dogwoods, for example. How big are those? Are those a 5 gallon? I mean, frequently shrubs or bushes will be measured by the size of the pot that they are purchased in.
Sure. The ones that are in right now, and that I will put in so the ones that are in right now are, I got them from Gardener Supply. They were in, I don't know, I'm going to say that they're probably 2 to 3 feet tall, 2 to 3 feet wide. And then the next set of H's Red Osier dogwoods I'm getting from the Intervale, and those are supposed to be 4 to 5 feet tall.
Okay.
Okay.
That's helpful. And the balsam firs, those would be measured in the diameter of the trunk.
Unless they're just a small potted item.
Unless they are, but yeah.
So
what's your intent there?
Yeah, so my intent there is to get them either at Gardener's or I found a tree farm out in Eden. I don't know if caliber of trunk is the typical measurement I see on these is just height. So I'm looking to get something that's in the range of 3 to 5 feet.
Okay.
All right.
Any other questions by the DRB members?
The only question I have is down past where you've done the plantings now, you're saying you're going to go in and remove more trees and shrubs from there?
The invasives. Yes, and they're all flagged right now, currently on site.
And are you going to put more plantings in there, the intention to, or?
No, that area is pretty dense, as is.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, Dave, I think that's a great question, though, and that this whole thing came up when the invasives were removed and there was no plan in place ahead of time to do that. Pete, I don't know what you're thinking, but whether that's, or Melinda, I mean, is a plan going to be required when that happens or prior to that happening?
Well, I think.
I mean, how's it any
ra-
different?
Yeah, it raises a question. I wouldn't recommend removing anything else personally. I think that's up to you.
Well, I mean, we remember this, I remember this from the first hearing, in that there is direction out there to remove these invasive species, that there is a desire from somewhere to have them not here. So I guess my recollection here is that this caused a problem because it was essentially eliminating a portion of the buffer that exists. And therefore, there should be some plan to demonstrate that there will be a buffer remaining after that's removed. And if that means a survey that shows what's going to still be there, that seems like something that should be run past the zoning administrator prior to doing that, just like the first time around.
I think I
That's
would
my opinion.
categorize that as what wasn't done the first time around.
Right. Or what we're completing right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, the rules haven't changed. And so if there are going to be more of these things removed, I think the process that should have been followed the first time will apply here. I guess that would be the direction I would propose to the rest of the DRB members, that we ask the administrators to take care of.
So can I ask, so are you referring to working with the zoning administrator on this? Or working with the DRB on this? Because when we did the initial clearing, we worked with the zoning administrator on it. And now we're here, so.
I respectfully ask for clarification, because I don't think we're talking about the same thing. When you say you worked with the zoning administrator, you did not, and correct me if I'm wrong, you did not, before eliminating the invasive species, you did not call the zoning administrator out to comment on what you were going to take out. You had that conversation with the zoning administrator after removal of the invasive species. Do I have that correct?
No. So the right side of the driveway, yes, we removed it first. Before I touched the left side of the driveway, Matt met me on site and told me specifically what we did on the right side of the driveway is fine. And I told him I'm going to do the same on the left, and he said that is fine.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yep.
Okay, other questions by the DRB?
Keith, what is the mature height of the silky willow? It looks like there are a few different varieties out there. I found maybe the nursery you got them from, and if they are just cuttings and they take, I mean, it looks like on the left of your driveway you've beefed it up, and but the right side there's not much there. So if those don't take or they don't turn into something, then these other residents that have written in with concerns would have a valid concern there.
10 to 15 feet.
And can you describe again? It's a cutting, or it has an actual root ball, like it's?
No, you can't buy them with a root ball. So they're cuttings off of. So I can send you guys information on where I bought them from and how they explain how they grow, if you like. But willows are very fast growers.
Okay, thanks.
And well, these, and again, I'm not familiar with silky willows, but starting as a cutting, but I assume they're going to bush out as a piece of shrubbery that's, you're saying 10 to 15 feet high, and how big in diameter? And how close to the ground will they bush out?
So I was told that within 3 years, they should be 5 by 5 round.
Okay.
Yep.
And will they grow to be, again, are they going to be 15 by 15 or are they going to be 5 by 15 when they get full grown?
I'm sure they all vary in size, but I was told 10 to 15 foot round tall.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions by the DRB? Okay, comments from the public, please raise your hand and we'll call you one by one. Raise your virtual hand.
I'm not seeing any raised hands, virtual or otherwise, from members of the public. Marcia Yuri has just texted me, so I think she wants to make a comment. So Marcia, if you could unmute yourself and state your name and address before making your comment. The unmute button is in the sort of bottom left corner of the Zoom screen. If you did want to make that comment.
I'm trying.
Okay, great.
Okay, you got it.
I got it?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Marcia Yuri, 1694 Old Stage Road. I would like to address the fact that Mr. Phelan still continues to expect to be able to mow. One letter that he sent to the DRB said it would be along his driveway and along the edge of the road. Tonight he said he expects to brush hog throughout the whole area. And doing that will certainly interfere with any visual barrier.
Melinda, what language is in the bylaws relative to this topic?
Did we lose Melinda?
I think she's muted.
Yep.
Sorry. I'm bringing up the bylaw language right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're following the rules and we're not
Yeah.
ruling on something that's outside of the published rules of engagement.
Yeah. Okay. Just bear with me here.
That's okay.
Okay. 2322 requires functional existing vegetation be retained wherever possible. And let's see. Existing vegetation that can effectively serve the landscaping functions listed in the introduction shall be retained to the extent possible. Must okay. Create, maintain the and enhance the appearance and character of individual developments in the community. Okay. A landscape buffer composed primarily of existing woodland or forest must be of sufficient height and density to provide an effective visual buffer. So it doesn't say barrier. The landscaping plan shall also propose supplemental new plantings where the existing vegetation is too thin to be an effective visual buffer. So yeah, I mean, basically it's a visual buffer. So it's more of like a softening than a barrier, meaning it doesn't have to be, the house and the development doesn't have to be invisible, it just has to be buffered.
And buffer is buffer defined? Good question. Because, Mr. Hemmelgarn has a buffer, so to speak, in his background Zoom screen. And that's a buffer. Is that what level of impact does that have? Well, we could debate that all night, and it's probably not defined.
Right, but Mr. Christensen has a barrier.
Mr. Christensen has a barrier. Correct.
Guys, we have debated this all night. We debated this when that construction outfit on South Brownell Road decided they wanted to thin out their barrier from the developer, from the individual who lived across the street from the auto repair store. We went through this whole thing about what constitutes a barrier and what constitutes just a screening. We already been here.
So the question that I asked Melinda to research is there any language in the bylaw relative to seasonal cutback, or is it left silent and an assumed best practice? That's really the question at hand.
Yeah, it's really left silent. And there is this little call out to DRB discretion, asking the DRB to consider the context of the surroundings. Determining what type of landscape buffer will be appropriate in a particular context.
Okay. Thank you, Melinda. Okay, are there any other public comments?
There's no other raised hands, and I've not had any other chats requesting to speak.
Okay. So we will discuss this in deliberation, and Keith, you can call Melinda in the morning and get guidance and input from what our decision was. And if there aren't any other comments from the public portion of this, I'm going to close discussion on this topic. Okay. So with that said, we are going to go now into deliberative session. It's 8:22. Simon, if you could please put people in a waiting room for those who want to wait, and we will deliberate. Thank you. Welcome. The Town of Williston Development Review Board is out of deliberative session. It's 9:03. And for the record, I'd like to clarify that I had recognized 2 letters related to the Windswept Farm project that is being considered outside of the DRB at this point. I was incorrect. And there were actually 3 letters that have been received. So the record should reflect 3 letters received to
And
date.
Pete, one additional clarification is that it's not really a windswept farm application. It's the adjacent property, the grazer property.
Great. Thank you, John.
Yep.
Okay. All right. First up is DP 22-06. Is there a motion?
Yeah, Simon, would you mind putting up the
Yep, sure.
notes? I should have wrote them down, but I didn't.
No worries.
Okay. As authorized by WDB 6.6.3, I, David Turner, move the Williston Development Review Board, having reviewed the application submitted and all accompanying materials, including the recommendations of the town staff and advisory boards required to comment on this application by the Williston Development Bylaw, and having heard and duly considered the testimony presented at the public hearing of March 8th, 2022, accept the recommendations for DP 22-06 and authorize this application to move forward to discretionary permit review. And we're going to add a couple more recommendations. Recommendation number 4 will read: the discretionary permit must clearly state the intended use of the proposed development. And recommendation number 5 will read: the front property line is parallel to Route 2.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
Second.
John Hemmelgarn seconds. Any further discussion?
No.
Okay. Yay or nay? Paul Christensen,
Yay.
John Hemmelgarn,
Yay.
Nate Andrews,
Yay.
David Turner.
Yay.
The chair is a yay. 5 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes dated February 22nd, 2022?
So moved.
Thank you, Paul. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dave. Any discussion?
No.
Yay or nay? Paul,
Yay.
John,
Yay.
Nate,
Yay.
Dave.
Yay.
Chair is a yay. 5 in favor, none opposed. Motion carries. Is there any further business to bring forth at this time?
Who sells Girl Scout cookies?
Girl Scouts.
Yes.
No. Is that anyone got Girl Scouts is what I'm saying.
Oh, well, I got
Walmart.
mine through the barn at Windswept Farm.
Subtle.
Oh, no.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So be it.
Okay.
So moved.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Appreciate your support. Have a good evening.